This is LWT, your Formula One weekend, ITV. And after this afternoon's qualifying, tomorrow's race promises to be a corker. Over to Murray and Martin.
Welcome to the heartland of Austria, a perfect setting as the second half of the Formula One season revs up.
And a perfect setting too for this week's F1 special. On the programme today, Damon, Eddie and the rest of the British drivers relieve some post-Silverstone stress on the golf course with some amusing results. We have a chat with Grand Prix superstar Gerhard Berger, who's starting a brand new career. F1 People takes a look at Sonia Irvine, who's much more than just a big sister to Ferrari's Eddie Irvine. And we find out about the other side of a Grand Prix driver's life from Georgie Hill. Plus, all the news from today's qualifying session for the Austrian Grand Prix.
And that's where we kick off this week's show. Qualifying for the Austrian Grand Prix finished just a few hours ago, and here's what happened.
We were all set for a McLaren-dominated qualifying session, but then a sudden heavy rainstorm just minutes before the qualifying hour started made the whole thing into a lottery. Lovely weather for goats, and for those of a more lyrical nature.
The hills are alive with the sound of rainfall here in Austria.
Nobody went out for the first half an hour, but Damon Hill was the first to try his luck, albeit gingerly.
Damon running very, very deep into turn one, locked a wheel and really just had to tiptoe around the outside. There appears to be no grip out there.
With the weather so hard to predict, others risked an early run. World champion Jacques Villeneuve came a cropper, as did Giancarlo Fisichella, but the young Italian was to bounce back spectacularly later on. Changing conditions seemed made for Michael Schumacher in his legendary car control.
And this is going to be yet another fastest lap.
Indeed it is!
But as the sun came out and a dry line emerged, all the action happened in the final moments of qualifying. It was every man for himself.
And we have now got 1 minute left of qualifying. This could be the strangest looking grid that we've seen for a long, long time. And Jean Alesi is going faster again. Yes, he's in pole position. 13 seconds to go. And there is the pole position man, Jean Alesi. Amazing. Alesi is fastest. Fisichella is second. Schumacher goes down to third. Barrichello to fourth. Hakkinen fifth and Salo sixth. What a grid. And the session is now finished, except for the laps that they are on.
And there's still a lot more action to happen in this last minute and a half. And Michael Schumacher up to P3. Schumacher, second row of the grid. He will not start from the front row. So Frentzen making it up to fifth. I think the two McLarens could make something of this last lap. Hakkinen's on a good lap. And last corner for him, he's not going to get caught up in that traffic. And just behind him is David Coulthard, also on a good lap. And Hakkinen goes third. Hakkinen made it work. Coulthard obviously had some kind of...
Fisichella's in pole position. Giancarlo Fisichella in the closing seconds of the qualifying session for tomorrow's Austrian Grand Prix goes ahead of Jean Alesi by an incredible 7/10 of a second as the conditions improve. And it looks as though things are settled now with this amazing result. The grid for tomorrow's Austrian Grand Prix is going to be dominated at the front by Giancarlo Fisichella, his first pole position.
But the last lap lottery was a washout for Damon Hill. He gambled and lost and was furious to wind up in 15th place. One slot behind David Coulthard, who had another disappointing Saturday afternoon. So the grid for the Austrian Grand Prix looks like this. Giancarlo Fisichella's first career pole, alongside him Jean Alesi in the Sauber. Row 2, and this is where the action should be, Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher. Row 3, Rubens Barrichello and Mika Salo in the Arrows. Row 4 sees Heinz-Harald Frentzen, alongside Eddie Irvine in the second Ferrari. Row 5, Ralf Schumacher and Olivier Panis in the Prost. Row 6 sees world champion Jacques Villeneuve alongside Jos Verstappen in the Stewart. Then on row 7, Pedro Diniz and David Coulthard, rather downcast. Row 8, Damon Hill and Jarno Trulli in the Prost. Row 9, the hometown boy Alex Wurz having a bit of a struggle. Alongside him, Johnny Herbert in the Sauber. Row 10, Esteban Tuero and Toru Takagi. And bringing up the rear is Nakano and Ricardo Rosset.
At the beginning there was a lot of water, and for us with Bridgestone tyres was very, very difficult. There was aquaplaning everywhere. But at the end the car was much better, and I did a very good job, especially in the last lap when I did my first pole in Formula 1.
It's fantastic, especially for the team. I mean, after the problems we had in Silverstone, it was extremely important to get a good results as soon as possible. And we were not expecting, obviously, to be in the first row like that. I'm really pleased for everybody.
What I can look positively at is to keeping a Michael behind, keeping a David behind. I think that's the only positive thing. The negative thing, I was third.
I have no pressure. It's the other guys around me who has a pressure. They're fighting for championship. I'm not, so they have a pressure and I don't.
I mean, we simply went out too early. But you know, it's all. Sometimes you wait too long, and sometimes you go too early. I mean, this time we made a mistake. Next time we're going to make it better.
The reason I didn't down in 14th is that I had problem locking up the rear axle on the down changes, and I've ran wide pretty much in every corner because of that. And on my last lap I did the same into turn 3 and went sort of half in the gravel and back on the circuit. So it's just the result of not screwing together lap time, which is always the risk, if you like, in these conditions.
Now, here's a question. What does a Grand Prix driver do after a truly dramatic and contentious British Grand Prix to get some relaxation? Well, the answer is to get down to the RAC's world-famous golf course at Epsom, hit some balls, relieve the stress and raise some money for charity.
A day after Silverstone, and the pace is a bit more leisurely for Damon Hill and David Coulthard. They were at the RAC club in Epsom taking part in a charity golf tournament. All 4 British drivers dropped in to join the celebrities raising money for the British Brain and Spine Foundation.
It's a great opportunity to come along and meet the guys and hang out with my idols, you know. These guys are heroes to me.
Are they really?
Oh, very much so, yeah. Eddie Irvine is he's mad, but he's incredible.
Tell me about
He's incredible. He's what a driver. Coulthard is the ultimate pro.
Oh.
And Schumacher, wow, what a driver. Love to have fought him with a chin like that. Can you imagine?
What's his business with the trees over here?
These trees
Yes.
are very important in golf.
Yeah.
Now, what you have to do, in order to get on the telly, what you have to do is play a really bad shot and go into the trees or the bunker, and then everyone likes to see what you do, you see.
Hug a tree. Before you chop it down with your dog.
Well, you could jump up and hit me in the nuts.
Right. Do you want me to do that again? I don't believe it.
While Damon was chopping down trees, Johnny Herbert was also doing a spot of gardening.
Oh, you got that one.
How come you get the buggy and everybody else has to walk?
Well, it's quite good for me because I'm a disabled person, so I can get away with it.
In what way?
My little feet.
Oh, okay.
You forgot about that.
Well, I know you've got problems there, but
Yes.
no, I remember your feet. Ooh.
Yes, my feet. No, I find it because it's all up and down, and it just gives my feet a lot of sort of twisting around which they're not used to. They do ache. No, but I enjoy it. It's just nice to get away and it's relaxing, and it's nice with the guys I'm with because they're sort of race enthusiasts, and it gives them a chance to mingle with the drivers, which is nice.
Eddie Irvine wasn't letting his round interrupt a perfectly good telephone conversation.
No, we're not. Hold on a second, hold on. There you go. That'll be all right. Yeah, that's dropped out. Yo. That's all right, isn't it?
So we didn't see the first one, did we?
How does it work? Are you all playing against each other?
I've no idea.
I'm just trying to get the ball in the hole, that's all I know.
Being with the Grand Prix circus on the road can be very busy. Ferrari's Eddie Irvine is no stranger to a hectic schedule. His sister Sonia has a hectic schedule of her own looking after him, and she's the subject of this week's F1 People.
Sonia Irvine, physiotherapist and personal assistant. You prepare the driver's food, take it to them, make sure that they don't get dehydrated, so you always try and encourage them to drink as much fluid as possible. Treatment, massage, neck, back, they're the main problem areas that a driver has. And then sit down whenever we first arrive on a Thursday and we go through the programme of what he has to do with his interviews for the press and what Ferrari want him to do and what Shell wants him to do. Enrico Zanarini, his manager, and myself will sit down as well, and then we'll go through other PR commitments that he has for his personal sponsors, fit that into a diary and then liaise that back to Ferrari. I crammed in maybe about 15 years of physio into about 10 years. And I just thought I'd had enough. I really didn't know what life was all about other than just doing physio, so I took off backpacking. And the day before I was due to go backpacking, then Edmund phoned and he goes, guess where I am now, guess where I am now? And he was outside Ferrari about to go and sign. And then I took off, and then we met in Adelaide. And he says, what are you doing next year? And I'd been offered a research job, so I was going to go back and do that. He says, well, do you want to come and be my physiotherapist? He's my brother, but at the end of the day, he's my boss. So, you know, that's how I treat it, that he's my boss. I'll watch the first couple of laps, make sure that there isn't going to be a restart, and then I launch into other things. And, you know, getting the food prepared for him after he comes out of the car. He may want to eat it or he may not. And then also clearing up, getting his clothes ready for when he comes back out again. And also making sure that the transport arrangements for him to leave the circuit is all organised, because after the race he'll go into team brief and then he's normally away and everything just has to be stowed to try and get him away from the circuit. So whenever I sit in one spot, then you get all excited and you get all worked up about it. While if you keep yourself busy, it doesn't seem so bad. I really like the people. There's a lot of people that I get on really well with, and I think most teams, I tend to know someone there. And it's the people that make it nice.
That's it for the moment, but join us again after the break as we find out about Grand Prix superstar Gerhard Berger's second career.
10 times a Grand Prix winner, Gerhard Berger has decided he'll drive no more after retiring at the end of last season. Amazingly, he's taken up a new role as motorsport director at BMW. Murray's been talking to him.
Gerhard, you've been leading a comfortable and luxurious life as a Grand Prix driver for 14 years, and now you're changing to a new administrative job. It's going to be difficult?
We're going to see. I mean, I was growing up already in my parents' home with company background, and I was working already in the company, in the office, so it's not something completely new for me. And of course, yeah, it's a big change to the last years, but that's what I want. That's why I stopped racing, because I had it and I liked it and it was fantastic, but I am looking for something different.
You surprised me, because everybody expected you to be wanting still to be in the driving seat and to go on as a Formula One driver.
I don't understand this, because I said from the moment I stopped, it's finished. I don't feel it anymore. I don't want it anymore. I have great respect from everything. I love the whole Formula One group. I love to stay in a different way, but not as a driver. That's over.
Now, BMW headquarters is in Munich. You live in Monaco. BMW Motorsport is in Didcot. How are you going to work?
Well, yes, as it is anyway, Munich and England, or Germany and England, it's anyway going to be quite a bit traveling. And actually, my original home in Austria is very close to Munich. It's maybe less than an hour driving. So we're going to get it. We're going to get it organized.
So your responsibility will be the whole thing, getting drivers, developing the engine.
Well, yes. You know, the first thing is getting drivers. If we look to the Formula 1 side, what my priority is, the drivers in the moment is not important. The driver's decision is with Frank Williams. Of course, we're gonna ask and give the wish, but Frank gonna make the final decision. And as I say, in the moment, the technical side is much more priority. So it's not a big thing in the moment.
Now, it's a gigantic challenge for BMW to get the new engine right. They're up against Mercedes, they're up against Renault, they're up against Ferrari. How is it coming?
Too early to say anything about it. I mean, we are still more than a year away from our first race, and I just can tell there's a lot of activities going on. Right or wrong, we're gonna see.
Yeah. And obviously it's a V10.
It doesn't have 8 cylinders and doesn't have 12. Yeah.
So what do you regard as the most difficult part of the new job?
Let's wait and see. You know, it's difficult to know before. I would say the key of it to get the right people together.
Yeah. And
to have the budget and to get the right people together.
Yeah. Now, with all your racing experience, over 200 Grand Prix, 10 victories, you're going to be in a very strong position to guide drivers, aren't you?
Yeah, but I don't see my new job as guiding drivers. Of course, if I can help a driver, fine, especially if it's in our group or especially for us. But no, my new goal is be heavy involved into the decisions of the future of motorsport of BMW.
Well, I think they've got the right man. I hope you enjoy the job as much as you've enjoyed your driving.
Thank you.
You will have noticed many shots of drivers' wives and girlfriends amongst the action during the season so far. One lady you've seen a lot of recently is Mika Häkkinen's new wife, Irja. She was there through the highs of Monaco and the lows of Silverstone. But take a trip down to the motorhomes and you'll also find David Coulthard's American girlfriend, Heidi, Michael's Fraulein Corinna Schumacher, Heinz-Harald Frenzen's longtime girlfriend, Tanya, as well as Fisichella's latest love, Luna, Mrs. Silvana Barrichello and Mika Salo's girlfriend, Noriko. But the senior wife has to be Georgie Hill, and the housewife's favourite, Tony Jardine, caught up with her in Monaco.
I don't actually come to all of them because I think it's probably quite good for me not to come to all of them. I think it's quite nice sometimes for him to have his mates around so he can have a different type of a weekend. You know, if I'm here, I think he likes it if I'm here. If things are going really well, because then he's not grumpy and he's not taking it out on me. So.
You've given him a lot of support during his career. You've been through all the highs and lows. Now there's a few lows at the moment, so what happens when he gets home and slams his helmet on the kitchen table? What do you say, a bad day at the office, dear?
I try not to say anything actually when he first gets home. I try to pretend it hasn't happened for a little while, until he's ready to talk about it himself. You know, I wouldn't sort of jump on him as he came through the door and what happened, what went wrong, because that would drive him crazy. But he generally gets in, has a romp around with the children, and then plays his guitar for half an hour, and then he'll come in and say, you know, you won't believe what that guy said to me, or you won't believe what they did this time, and then that will start for about 2 hours, and I'll nod, oh, that's terrible, dear, and all that business. And we let it go on for about 24 hours, and then talk about something else.
Is he a good dad?
He's a brilliant dad, yeah, he's a great dad, loves his children, and he's a great dad. I mean, he's really good with the baby, he's happy to change her and feed her and chats away to her and everything. But he's great, you know, with the old ones as well.
Now you've got a larger family, do you worry about the dangers more?
I don't think more. I try not to think about it, really. I think if I was to think about all the things that could happen to him, not just at the racetrack, but on his way to the racetrack, you know, that he's in helicopters half the time and jets half the time, and, you know, you'd go absolutely bananas. So I try to think of it that it's his job. It's just his job. It's what he does for a living.
Have you ever thought about telling him to quit?
No, never. Wouldn't do that. I'd rather have him doing what he wants to do, and then we get happy daddy at home. Otherwise, we'd have grumpy daddy all the time.
And of the 3 teams he's been with in Grand Prix racing, which do you think is his favourite?
I mean, obviously at Williams, he won his World Championship, which he absolutely was fantastic, and we will never forget that race in Suzuka. Just will be with us forever. He also drove alongside great drivers, and learned a lot from them, and he was privileged to be working with people like Adrian Newey as well. So I think Williams is probably a really enjoyable experience in that he got the opportunity to meet the best you could meet.
Do you still speak to the people at Williams?
Apart from one or two.
Should he have gone to McLaren?
I think if Ron had really wanted him to go to McLaren, he would be at McLaren now.
Well, that was a classic recipe for an exciting qualifying session. And what a turn-up for the book. Fisichella, Alesi, Hakkinen, Schumacher. I'm tempted to say that Alesi will be swamped by the two behind him, but what do you think?
I think if the race is dry, he's not got enough pace to keep Schumacher and Hakkinen behind him, but they've got to find a way past him. And Fisichella was going very well in the dry as well. And today was very interesting. A bit of luck of the draw, but then you make your own luck, and putting him out just at the end there, so he crossed the line with a few seconds to spare, was so clever.
Doesn't it just show, though, that if you're good enough and the conditions are right for your lack of power, you can be 6 on the grid like Salo is. I mean, he's never been as high. Do you see him finishing well up tomorrow in the first 10?
Not if it's dry, he just hasn't got enough power. I think faster cars behind him will have enough speed to get him even in the relatively short pit straight, but he'll enjoy the first few laps.
And what does poor David have to do? 14th on the grid when he desperately needs points. He said it's not his year, and it really doesn't look like it, does it?
No, it looks like he made a mistake on his last lap or got traffic in the midsection. I haven't seen him yet, but it's a disaster for him. He's been fastest all through all the dry sessions, at the top of the pile, and suddenly he's about 14th on the grid, but there you go.
Well, we've got the two top men on the championship on the second row of the grid. I am again tempted to say that they'll get past and it'll be a race between Hakkinen and Schumacher. You agree?
Yes, sooner or later they'll get through, yeah.
Want to make a prophecy, like me?
I think the McLaren is fast enough to win the race. If Hakkinen beats Schumacher into the first corner, that's going to be something to watch out for. There's a lot of faster drivers, Coulthard and Hill not least, way back down the field, Wirtz as well. And watching them come through, I'm looking forward to too.
Well, you'll be able to see, you can watch the race live on ITV starting at 12:20 tomorrow. And believe me, it's going to be a race to see.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by F1 Racing Magazine is www.itv-f1.com.